everyone, happy October Awareness Month. In October, there are several different awareness months that are all about bringing awareness to different exceptionalities. We focus on autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, dyslexia, Down syndrome, and mental health awareness month. So I hope you are doing your part in trying to spread awareness about these different issues. And today we're focusing on different interventions for learning disabilities. And I think it's important to highlight that before you try and find an intervention, that you take a moment to figure out the student's strengths and weaknesses, or your child's strengths and weaknesses, because they play an important factor in selecting the right intervention. So, for example, if your child has a strength in an area, you want to see if the intervention can play to that strength while supporting their weakness. The other thing that you need to figure out is where they are struggling. That means that you need to say, okay, well, for reading, there are two components of reading. There is the figuring out what the word says, or the decoding, and there's the listening comprehension side of the equation. So you need both of those skills to be able to read and understand what you are reading. So first, when you are working with a student that's struggling with reading, you want to figure out whether if they are struggling with figuring out what the word says or understanding the meaning of the text. You will take different approaches to helping them based on their struggles. If they are fine with understanding language, then you're not going to focus on an intervention focusing on language comprehension. If they are struggling with recognizing the word, then you need to figure out why. Do they know their alphabet? Do you know they know the relationships between the letters or the graphemes and the sounds, and which are the phonemes in the language? And you also need something called phonological awareness, which is an awareness of the sounds within the language. And humans are born if they are able to hear language and comprehend language, so understand what words say. They have an unconscious awareness of phonological awareness. And that's, again, the awareness of sounds within the language. But when we ask children to read, we need to bring that unconscious awareness to the conscious, so that they are aware where one sound ends and the next one begins, so they can figure out where one word ends and the next one begins. These are skills that we can help support through doing phonological awareness interventions. And at the same time, you can start working on making sure that they know their letter and sound correspondences, so that they know that A says ah for apple. And once you do this, they start to be able to associate the letters and the sounds. We want to bring that up to automaticity. So that means when they see the letter A, they automatically know that it says ah, and they're not searching their brain and the memory, that they need to try and figure out, okay, that's the letter A. Now, what does A say? A says ah. And through sounding out the words and reading them over and over again, they start to bring up their sight vocabulary. And that doesn't mean that they've memorized the word. That means that they've read the word on enough occasions that they understand, and they've made that connection in their brain between the printed word and the spoken word. And that's, again, their sight vocabulary, and that requires orthographic mapping. You need to work on these skills so that they are able to recognize a word within a fraction of a second, and that will allow them to read the text, not focusing on sounding out every word. While you're doing this, you can also work on their vocabulary development. And working on their vocabulary means that they're going to have a better knowledge of the words that they come across when they're reading. And it means that when they are reading, they will, if they sound out a word and it sounds similar to a word that they know, they can say, oh, cat. That's like cat. And it's particularly helpful when they are reading words that have a couple different sounds. So TH says, and it also says right? So they may say the or the, and in that instant, it's okay to pronounce it both ways. But there are other words where it matters, right? So this gives them the understanding of what they need to focus on. Now, if they're struggling with language comprehension or the understanding of the words that they are reading, then you need to give them strategies to learn how to get information out of what they are reading. So you can teach them how to find information in the text. And you can start by doing this at the spoken level, where you're getting them to understand what you say and dig deeper into the meaning. And you can do this while you're reading stories to them. And then once they're better at it for their language comprehension side of things, then you can work on their reading comprehension, help teach them the skills that they need to find this information while they're reading. And it's very similar for math and writing. You need to figure out what skills the student or the child is struggling with and focus those interventions on the skills. Now, unfortunately, all the interventions out there on the market have not been created equal, and they do not necessarily have the validity, or they're not necessarily the best intervention for what the child needs. And I would recommend contacting a reputable person or association to ask what they feel are the best standards for those skills. You want to make sure that it has not just evidence-based, but it's been proven several times in a market, and it's targeting the skills that the child needs to focus on at the lowest level, and it builds up their competency. So I hope you have a great day and you're enjoying October Awareness Month. This evening I'm going live at 5 with Simon DeRosa, and we're going to talk about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Have a great day.